Hi, this is Chris Simon,
Tracy, Royce,
Luke Rodvold,
and this is the Redroom. Tracy, Luke, and I jump on every week to talk about real estate, acquisition,
a lot of fix and flip,
and design,
dispositions,
Airbnbs,
financial independence, retire early.
We always have a new guest every single week.
We're going to have a lot of fun, all right?
So if you're interested in any or all of those, make sure to join us on the Redroom podcast.
And subscribe to the Redroom.
Share it with your friends or join us on the Phoenix RIA Facebook. Voila, there's the intro.
Here we go.
So we're officially, I think, 33, 34 days into the conflict. Call it what you want. And obviously our interest rates up, or our interest rates are about 40 to 50 basis points up, which has definitely, I feel like, stunted the market a little bit. Inventory still sticking around that 25,000 unit range. We saw it dip all the way down to our low 23,000 units. But I mean, I feel still like we're having a spring market, but I had just real positive vibes that this was going to be the market that we hadn't had in 3 or 4 years. Not that, like, I feel like it's not stalled, but it's not as good as I thought it was going to happen. And we got Brian on here, and Brian's a great source of information. He's done it all. He was a wholesaler like me. Then he moved on with Green Street. Then he built a giant luxury brand, as we all know. And now we're here talking about Luxury Spec Homes. He had an exit on his company, which, some of us, not very many of us actually do in the business world. So there's that. This guy's a legend in the Arcadia area. So thanks for jumping on, Brian.
Trace, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear him. Is that correct?
We can
You
hear
can't hear
Brian.
Chris?
Yeah.
Sorry. I can't hear Chris.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can. Sorry,
Can
guys.
you hear me?
It's odd. For some reason, I can't hear Chris.
He had just given you an epic intro and said hello.
Yeah.
There we go. What's up? How about that?
Exactly.
Yeah, for some reason, I can't hear him, but thank you guys. I'm so stoked to be here. So,
Yes.
I can hear you, Tracy, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Chris had given you this amazing intro and essentially put the last 20 years of your amazing career trajectory into a 15-second nugget and said hello. So what have you been up to? What's new these days?
Oh, man. Well, you guys know I owned a real estate brokerage that I don't own anymore. That was a lot of fun, and it's changed my life completely. I mean, I loved that part of my life. It was a completely different season. I loved growing salespeople. It was just, that was my job. I chose that trajectory, and I thought that the real estate sales industry needed something unique and different. I thought it needed sales training, actually, and so that's really what I went hard on, and we built a great company at North & Co. Now with Compass, and then I'm focused predominantly, I'm back in sales. I mean, that's really, I remember one time our friend Derek Jar, we were in a boardroom at least 15 years ago. This is at a time that we were working together, Trace. You maybe were even in the room. You may have even been in the room at the time. And he did this exercise with us where he asked us to come in the room and tell the room what our, it would be like superpower, but what really was our role in the business world. What were we best at? What was the thing that we could lean on each other in the organization for? And I was really disappointed to come up with that mine was that I was a world-class salesman. And I was disappointed because nobody likes a salesman. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, but at the end of the day, that was what I was great at. And I had been doing it my whole life. And so I'm back in sales now. And like anything, you guys know, at least in the residential real estate side of things, real estate sales side of things, we are a percentage of commission, not a standard commission, but a percentage commission of our sale. And so now I'm focusing pretty much on luxury spec development. I live in Paradise Valley. And so for me, the old adage of you work your neighborhood, work your target market. And then with all of my background and the things that we've done together, the people that we've worked with, and just being right in the heart of the valley for a long time, I'm focused now on land acquisition for spec developers. I'm actually invested as an equity partner in some of the specs, and then naturally I'm selling those properties as well. So I'm actually, just so you guys know, I stepped out of an architectural meeting. I'm at Candelaria Design's office right now.
Wonderful.
So no better place to be talking about luxury spec building than in Candelaria's office.
The epitome of architecture in Phoenix.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Well, a big thing that you're really known for, Brian, and I know you're putting a negative connotation around being a salesperson, but when I think of you, I think of branding, and you are your brand. And not only has that become so important in the business world and with social media, but you've also allowed this authenticity to pour out through your sales, through your social media, through, I think, anything that you've touched, and that's created a following. So how are you bringing that into the development world now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, so I'm going to methodize this for you guys. I'm going to talk method, and then I'm going to talk artistry, right? I think there's really two very distinct components. And Chris, I don't know if you remember this, but it was probably 4 or so years ago, I really leaned into bringing a positive outlook on the world to social media. And I remember, Chris, you texted me and you said, "Hey man, I see what you're doing, but like, what's it for?" Like, you asked me that. I remember you asking me this distinct question. And I was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss or not on this podcast. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, really, I'm doing this because this is me. And I think the first thing with branding starts with, if you can't fall in love with who you truly are in this world, you can't separate yourself, right? Especially as a residential real estate salesperson, where there's 50,000 of us. So guess what my fast track to branding is? There's only one Brian North. Okay. By the way, there's only one of you too. There's only one of the other 49,999, except for they've fallen in love with the algorithm and fallen out of love with authenticity. And so for me, it's this thing where I'm not chasing going viral. Right. My thing is I'm in love with a very consistent, slow, methodical, intentional game over a very long period of time. And I will tell you right now, if anybody says, "Hey, Brian North, do you know that guy? What do you know about him?" You're like, "I don't know if he's doing deals. I don't know if he owns a brokerage anymore. I don't know if he's doing coaching, sales training, wholesaling, what, but that guy's positive. He's always got good outlook on life. He's bringing joy to the world." If that's what I die and go to my grave with, if that's the message or moniker around me, then I win, right? So my thing is, it's, that's where my brand starts, is I'm going to wake up smiling. I'm going to go to bed smiling. After that, the method, that's the artistry. The method part of branding is pretty simple. I read a book called Scale, David Finkel and Jeff Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman was the founder of Priceline. And in that book, they have this theory. They talk about the empty parking space. And it's this really simple metaphor of, if you're marketing an indie industry, go find the empty parking space. It's much easier to create a niche in where there's an empty parking space than if there's 10 people trying to park their same car in the same parking space, right? And so that then starts with an analyzation of the market at large. So in residential real estate sales, in spec development, the thing that I notice right now, back to chasing the algorithm, is, and I'm sorry if I'm not trying to offend anyone on the screen, but in the sales part of the business, it's like there's a uniform, and there's a social conditioned uniform that every real estate agent wears. We know what the guy wears. We know what the girl wears. We know what you're supposed to look like. We know what kind of car you're supposed to drive. We know you're supposed to jump in a pool, or you're supposed to, like, there's all these things that, like, you should do. You should stand out in front of the house and say, "Welcome to this address, come with me," and walk inside. Like, it's all so cliche. And that's really great, because it shows you that everybody's trying to fill the same parking space. So you go, okay, let's look over here and let's find out where's the empty parking space. So for me, the one thing that I realized in training real estate salespeople was, our job is to do as much as we can and leverage either people or technology to be able to do as much as we can as fast as we can. Well, in the luxury space, if you think about buying a really, like, a fine handbag, a fine watch. I'll give you guys an example. I was just in Paris last week, and there is a Patek Philippe store in Paris. And I thought, I'm going to pop in there and just see if they have anything in stock. For anybody who's a timepiece collector, it's almost impossible to get a Patek Philippe like just off the shelf, but I'm in Paris, so I'm going to go check it out. So I call the store and I'm like, hey, I'm a real buyer. Do you have anything in stock? And they're like, yeah, how long are you in town? And I'm like, I'm in town for the next 3 days. And she's like, sorry, only the locals get first shot in the next week. And if you're an out of towner, you can come in 7 days from now and I'll make an appointment for you to buy a watch. Okay. I'm like, hold on. I have the money and I'm a buyer. Can I please come buy a watch? And they said, no. Okay. All right. So why in that space, in watches, in cars, in art, do you have to set an appointment and they're going to pre-qualify you. They're going to ask about the art collection. What are you looking for? They're going to go through this whole process. They're going to study art history. They're going to study the actual artist, the way that they move their brush stroke and why things look the way they are and why they're textured and all these things. But in luxury residential real estate, we're going to go really fast. We're going to slam buyers through. We're going to have, this whole kind of thing. So for me, I looked at it and I went, I'm going to slow the whole process down. Okay, the whole thing. And it's really going to be, and now when we're selling $20 and $30 million homes in Paradise Valley, it really is art. If I could show you guys what's on the wall behind me of what Mark's created here, the house that we're in the office building right now is a 3-story, 10,000 square foot house in Arcadia. We think we're going to get $20+ million, $2,000 a square foot for.
Wow.
And the process of me curating the story for the art, the delivery of the art begins now. Right? Everything begins now. It's why I'm in the meeting. Even if I'm just an innocent bystander listening, is because I have to learn how to create a story instead of listening to the algorithm and delivering 10-second sound bites, because that's what's going to track faster to go viral. I want to go into documentary filmmaking. I want to actually create a story and evoke through emotion long film edits of like a fountain draining water and telling a story about where the stone came from, right? So for me, that's it. So then where you go now, what do we name that? Well, we name the brand The Gallery. Okay, pretty simple. So the new team name is called The Gallery, and you can hear how I go through, who am I? What's the empty parking space? What is it that I'm going to do to slow it down? I'm a long game thinker. Now I've got to brand it in something that matches the delivery. And now what do I have to do? I have to deliver. Right? I actually have to go be this thing. So there's how I would go through the process of branding.
I love that, Brian, because I think my favorite thing about that is
I can't hear Luke either. Damn it!
Oh, you can't?
Can you hear me or no? No.
Are you able to hear me, Brian? We can't hear you now.
Brian's muted.
Brian, you're muted now. I can hear you. Can you hear me, Brian?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear, but let's see.
That's weird.
I wonder.
You're going to translate for these guys, unfortunately. But
tell me what you're going to say.
No, I was just going to say that I think it's such an amazing thing that he's doing, because, as a buyer, you're going to walk into these properties and, being able to have Brian telling that story, it unleashes a whole different animal. It unleashes a whole different feel as a buyer. It tugs on your heartstrings of like, this isn't like every other house. Like, it's so unique and it's so different. And obviously you're getting to what you're supposed to do, which is getting buyers to be emotional. And when they get emotional about the purchase, that's obviously when they'll pull the trigger on it, So I think it's genius.
Brian Luce is saying that he thinks it's genius what you're doing because when you start to pull on someone's heartstrings and get them emotional about something, it's a totally different buying game rather than this is a luxurious property. And I feel like that Luke didn't say this, but I'm speaking. I think that luxury is thrown around, just way too loosely now. Whereas embodying that and then really encapsulating that, slowing down the authenticity is what really can move the mark. So tell us, let's get into what Chris was talking about in terms of, hey, the market, we thought it was going to do this. We don't know quite where it's going, but you've moved into luxury development. So tell us about that space and what you see happening there versus maybe teasing out a little bit what's happening in the overall residential market.
Yeah, look, it's I will say there's a number of places we can kind of jump in here. One, because the margins are so much bigger on luxury real estate, or the commissions are so much bigger, we're seeing kind of a gold rush there. We're seeing a lot more wholesalers in the luxury space than we've ever seen before, which is a unique additional component. It's not unique to me, but it's unique for the landscape. And there's really been some real opportunity because the consumer hasn't heard of wholesalers. Right. I mean, now they're hearing about them because there's the opportunity. But there was a period of time for the last year and a half where it was a very new conversation. A lot of agents hadn't been dealing with wholesalers very much. And it's really become, especially Cactus Corridor and Paradise Valley. So we've really had an influx of wholesalers, which has challenged the consumer space. Right. And as a real estate, I'd say as a real estate agent first, I mean, I don't think that's fair, but I'll wear that hat right now. As a real estate agent first now, it started as a competition against wholesalers, and now it's about an education, right? I can do both. I mean, I can perform as a principal and I can perform as an agent. So it's a great opportunity for me to be able to educate them. But like in any submarket, you've got your good guys and your bad guys, right? And there's a lot of non-players, newbies that are throwing around assignment contracts on $4 million parcels of dirt, with micro earnest deposits and no exit strategy. And so it's a really interesting, part of that market now as well. The other thing about that's really about this part of the market that's really important is I'll talk specifically about Paradise Valley, is that you have, flat lot Paradise Valley, and you have your quadrants, your submarkets within Paradise Valley. Then you have hillside Paradise Valley, which is a completely different animal. You have sewer Paradise Valley, you have septic Paradise Valley, and then you have the environmental consideration, specifically washes. And now you've got wholesalers entering a market and going, oh, well, if it's in this location, I can see in tax records there was one that just sold 2 doors down for $3.5 million. That must mean this one's worth $3.5 million, without understanding that one's on septic, one's on sewer. One might actually be technically designated hillside versus flat lot, and one might have a big wash that runs through the middle of it versus the other one, and they could be 2 lots away, right? And so there are so many unique intricacies. And then what we're seeing on the uneducated developer side is they're doing the same thing. They're naive and uneducated, so they're looking at, hey, the strike price on this thing is really, really fair. I'm going to take it down, finding out that they've got a really big issue. I have one that I exited to. I thought it was actually the principal buyer. He ended up wholesaling it or taking it down and then reselling it. Check this out. So there's another one, which is, on a corner lot, Paradise Valley, you have double setbacks. Okay. This happened to be a half acre. Okay. And he thought, all right, after it was sold by the wholesaler to him, he realized that he couldn't blade it with double setbacks. He wasn't going to be able to do what he wanted. So he rips the roof off, of the house, and he's going to do a roof off remodel. Well, the town of Paradise Valley drives by and says, hey, we've got a stipulation in our zoning that says if you rip the roof off, you have to demo the whole house.
Oh,
So he finds a strategy where he's actually going to remodel the place, rips the roof off, and the town of PV tags it and says, you have to tear it down now. And these guys are going to get smoked. I mean, this will be a 7-figure loss on this property for not understanding the intricacies. So it's a very detailed game, and you got to know your stuff.
Yeah. How do you see it with holding up against the other spaces that are fluctuating? We'll stay away from the entry level and medium price point, but maybe touching along the luxury market for the resale versus new development. How do you see that holding up versus resale on luxury?
Yeah, I mean, look, from my perspective, purely my perspective, I think we're going to be pretty steady, right? Keep in mind the new build stuff, unless you're north of Doubletree. So let's take Doubletree to Shea. Let's take that out of the equation for a second. It's kind of its own animal. So we're going to go south of Doubletree all the way to Camelback Road or Camelback Mountain in Paradise Valley, for example. If you're going to get a new construction home, you're going to pay more than $10 million. Okay. So it's a different animal, right? And what I think that does, listen up, everybody, is I think right now we're on the front end of a remodel boom in Paradise Valley that, by the way, hasn't happened. I have no proof of it. I just believe it's there. I believe there's a real opportunity there to be able to go find a 2003 Candelaria that's a phenomenally architected home, an extremely well-built home on a really good lot. That, by the way, was probably a Tuscan, orange faux paint, tile roof, turret entry kind of deal, and turn that into a beautiful Spanish modern or Spanish Mediterranean and exit it at $6.5 or $7 million with it's been soup to nuts redone, and you don't have to wait. That's the other thing. Your carry costs are going to be less, right? Your permitting timeline might be, a little bit quicker. Your strike price could be better. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there. I think there's going to be a really, really good, because right now, what I can tell you about what I know is coming in the market, personally, I think there's a glut of $16 million homes, which is wild to say out loud.
Wow.
Right? There's a glut of $16 million homes, and there's some guys that are going to build a poor product on a not great street. They didn't quite know their submarket. They've overpaid, overspent, overcarried. They're going to have to get 16 million bucks. And there's going to be some really great houses that you can redeliver in a shorter period of time with shorter carry costs, less risk, for 6 to 9 million bucks. And there's going to be a lot of buyers excited about that house.
Mm-hmm. Do you either of you guys want to try your audio again and see if Brian can hear you?
You can hear me, Brian, or no? Nope.
No, it's so weird.
Still can't hear me.
Such a bummer. I can hear you, Trace. It's just you and I, girl.
Yeah, I know, apparently. And we were just saying, for those who don't know, Brian and I have known each other since like the early 2000s, and we've seen each other through different, different phases in life and different phases in business. So this is absolutely fascinating. And I think that a lot of people are paying attention not only to the remodel market, but also to the luxury as well. So is this what else do you see if people want to get into the space or need to know about the space before they dip their toe in? Because investors tend to think, well, I've done remodeling really well. Why don't I just go develop? And then to your point, they're making these sort of mistakes. So what else can you point to, like, need to know if you're thinking about getting into luxury development?
Yeah, and subject to how much time we have too, I can also try and hang up and log back in. That might work too. It would take 5 seconds to do, so I could try that. To answer this question really quick, one thing that I would do is that I think is really important is try and get with a few agents who are working with as many buyers in the luxury space as possible. And again, I keep talking about Paradise Valley because it's the market.
Did we lose him?
He might have just.
Oh, Trace, can you hear me?
He's back.
He's back.
Yep.
Oh.
Can you hear the guys?
It's so
guys, tell me what
awesome.
you want me to ask too.
Brian, bark twice if you're in Milwaukee.
Oh no, guys! Please tell me what you would like me to ask.
Yeah, so like obviously he's an Arcadia guy. Notice that like most of the stuff really is happening in the Cactus Corridor, and
I can hear him. I can hear you, Chris.
Yeah.
There it is. There it
All
is.
right, we're back.
there it is. So yeah, I was
That's
gonna
right.
ask,
Can you
like,
hear all
I
this now?
know you spent a lot of time in Arcadia, obviously, and that was kind of like Green Street was all heavy in Arcadia, but like PV, I always thought when Arcadia was going, I was like, people are only selling PVs for like $600, $700 a foot. I was like, there's a missed opportunity here. And I actually did 4 PV specs. And then, I sold the last one like January of 2020. And I'm just like, and then COVID happened. And I'm like, oh, this whole thing's coming to an end. And I did not see the hockey stick that was about to happen. Now I'm back in 3 new ones where I'm just an equity guy. I got whole one of the Phoenician, I got one in Cactus Corridor, and then I'm dabbling on a hillside up in Incala, but I got the lot in Incala that's like the top of the mountain for $1 million, and I was like, I don't know, I kind of think I should try this, but like, and maybe that's a mistake because I know the other 2 markets are on fire right now. But what are your thoughts there?
Well, first I have to say you not seeing the hockey stick is the first time I've realized you're human. So that's awesome. I love that. What am I seeing with regard to the longevity in that submarket?
No, just like, is Arcadia done? Is it over? Because I just don't see like this. I don't see it anymore. Everybody's in PV. Like, I mean, everybody's in PV, right? So
I love this, Chris. This is you and I having a beer together right now, and everybody gets to watch. So we have a house right now I'm with the developer, Nate Gossage, Livingstone, and Candelaria right now, and we're literally in a room designing a house. Okay. The reason is because we're exiting our last project, which was at Bethany Home and 37th. And this is where I was going, Tracy, with get with buyers agents. Okay. So I'm gonna dovetail the 2 questions here. Okay. So This house that we sold at 37th Place in Bethany, that submarket, arguably at the time that I sourced the dirt 2 years ago, would have been considered a B minus submarket. It's kind of sandwiched between the Biltmore and like Camelback Mountain, north of Camelback, south of Lincoln, but like over there west. It's like Southwest PV, right? And I went to Nate. This is where you get with buyer's agents. So if you're going to dabble in this space, here's where I would start. I went to the MLS and I took all of the active specs, whether they were rendered or going vertical, the total inventory. And at the time there were 45. This is when we decided what we were going to do with this particular house. Okay. And by the way, we were kind of, I would say, if we looked at a baseball game analogy, we were probably, I felt like in maybe the fourth inning of Paradise Valley at the time when we acquired this dirt. So we were like right in the middle of the game, right? Of the 45, 35 of them were modern glass boxes. Okay. So pretty simple. What don't you build? A modern glass box.
Yeah.
So now we have 10 left. Of the 10, 7 of them were what I would call Mediterranean, soft, modern, transitional, contemporary. Okay. 3 of them hyper traditional. Okay. Now, those ones, of the 3 that were hyper traditional, one was a joke listed at 75 million. We all know which house that was. There was another one at 22 million. And at the time, these numbers are bananas. We hadn't had anything sell over 20 million yet. So we were like, whatever, those are anomalies. And then there was one really good one. And it was actually UCB at the time, or pending, in a sea of all these other properties. So I went, hey, hyper traditional looks really positive. We have a bunch of Arcadians that Arcadia's not it, Chris, you're right. But they want that Arcadia style architecture, hyper traditional, in a sea of modern glass boxes over here. And by the way, you guys, check this out. Of the 45, there were only two that had more than 4 bedrooms and more than 6 garages. Okay. So I went, great. This is pretty simple.
Wow.
Let's go build a really traditional house that has 5 bedrooms, a casita, and 6 garages. Okay. If we do that, then we're one of one. We have the only one. Okay. We're in escrow on that house right now at $1,913 a square foot.
Wow.
Whew.
Okay. It'll be
That's amazing.
we would have been the highest price per foot recorded on MLS, except for Frank DiMaggio just sold one for $1,936 a foot and beat us to closing. Okay. But still, it would have, now that was a B minus submarket. Okay. B minus submarket when we got it. So what did we do? We went, what is the consumer desire? What are they looking for? What do they want? And Chris, it was really simple. Let's go build an Arcadia house in a Paradise Valley market. They wanted, because here's the negative moniker with Arcadia right now is it's very kind of like doesn't have a lot of privacy. There's my gentle way of saying it. Okay. Paradise Valley feels very private. Okay. People who don't want to be in the front yard neighborhood and everybody be in their stuff, they're in PV. Well, guess what? In the last 2 years, now I go look at what's happening out there and I say a glut of $16 million houses. Guess where the next best submarket, in my opinion, what's the third inning? Arcadia. So I went back to Nate and I said, hey, Nate, I go, dude, Arcadia is undervalued. If you go look at the average price per square foot of sales in Arcadia, it's $1,200 a foot. If you look at of specs, if you look at the average price per square foot of specs, and this is when we were having the conversation about 4 or 5 months ago, it was right around $1,400 a square foot. So I said, you got $200 price per square foot disparity. People still want both submarkets. There's not a lot of great spec inventory because the other thing about Arcadia is that the lots are a little bit smaller. They're like 3/4 to acre lots. So you can't get as big of a house on them. So you can't get your economies of scale to make it work as a developer. So I went, hey, but if we got something on Exeter, which is that big boy street in Arcadia, Billionaires Row, there isn't a billionaire house that's sitting on Exeter right now available for sale. So I said, Nate, let's go hunt lots in Arcadia. Let's find one on Exeter and get an absolutely A++ premier lot. Then let's go sit with Mark and build an absolutely bananas house. Like you guys, we have features in the house, like a wrapping room. So you can wrap your presents in a room in the house. we were just.
Wait, you guys don't already have one?
I mean, come on. I mean, we're talking. You guys, this is golf simulator.
Right,
how about this? We've got a golf simulator. We've got full sauna, spa room, wellness center, 5 bedrooms, a gallery, living room. The breakfast room is like a breakfast gallery. We have an orangery. This is where you harvest your oranges in Arcadia in the house.
Oh my gosh.
We have, how about this? We're short on garage space in Arcadia. We have a 4-car above ground garage and 2 of the bays have a lift that go down into the basement.
Gosh.
So you can see it from your speakeasy. Like this. So we're like, let's go build the sickest thing on the sickest lot in Arcadia, because Arcadia seems underpriced compared to Paradise Valley right now, and we're ahead of that game. So you guys can hear this is really like in the market stuff. But Chris, you're right. Arcadia has not been it for the last 2 years, and I think Arcadia is next.
Yeah.
So I mean, something that I take from this, Brian, is that you know your market better than anybody. And I mean that's the thing is that I think what I've learned too is that anytime I try ever going into a market that I'm not super familiar in, it doesn't typically go as well as I want it to. But when I stay in my market that I'm really good at, it tends to go well. And so being the absolute best at what you do in your market and just knowing every detail, I mean every single detail of every street. I mean, that's just something that not a lot of people do, and not a lot of people have that knowledge of. And obviously, it pays off for you.
Yeah, and Luke too. Again, back to long game, right? I've been saying it over and over and over again. What you get when you stay true to a submarket or geography, and what you hear me doing, what you hear Chris and I doing over a beer right now, is I'm talking about intuition. I'm not even totally talking about data. When you are so specific about think about any asset class. Think about equities in the stock market or cryptocurrency. You guys want to say, I would be like, I wouldn't know anything. You know what I mean? I'd be but you talk about someone who's been in it for 10 years and they're going to show you the candle here and the dip here and they're all these crazy graphs. And so, my thing is when you stay true to a geography over a long period of time, intuition enters the game. And when you can make decisions on gut, right, that don't all the way make sense, but you just know, and there's no one that can knock you off your horse, that's when you can really get some big wins in the investment space.
Couldn't agree more. I could not agree more with that.
So what's what is the new luxury? Is it 10 million? Is that the new luxury? Because I gotta admit, I'm building a cactus corridor. It's 5,400 square feet. It's gonna go up for like 4.9. But I kind of just feel like that's just kind of middle of the road now. It's not.
Cute luxury.
Yeah. Look, hey, all things said, Chris, I'm invested in a couple in Cactus Corridor. I'm very bullish on Cactus Corridor right now. And I'm bullish on it because now let's go macro kind of economics, macro view. If you're coming from Chicago or LA or New York or Seattle, and you're used to riding the L to the city from the suburbs to go to work, 30 minutes one way and negative 20-degree wind chill, and all of a sudden you're like, the separation between 10 million and 6 million is Shea Boulevard, it doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't add up, right? And so for such a small amount of proximity, you get such a discount, and yet you still get an acre lot, and you still get all the same restaurants and the shopping and all the stuff, but it's one street away. It doesn't make sense. So we're gonna have a great run in the Cactus Corridor. But if you ask me what luxury is right now, by the way, let me back up for anybody that's listening. I'm a skate punk from California. I was the guy that wore a t-shirt. I loathed the sport coat, and I wore check Vans to work every day. So, and I used to throw up when I said the word luxury in my mouth. I was just like, so for me, it's this thing where it's kind of a made up thing. But I would say right now that if you're spending $6 or $7 million, you're for sure in the luxury space. In Paradise Valley only. And by the way, there are still some really beautiful properties in that $6 or $7 million range. They're just going to be kind of getting into the fringe. You're not going to have beautiful camelback views and things like that. You're definitely in luxury when you get north of $5 million. But if we're talking about really where does that oh my gosh, I've got kind of a one of one property start. It's $12 million. And we just had our first sale at 32 million on Mockingbird.
Wow.
And the guy's completely renovated the house since he bought it. I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram. He put a full 100-yard football stadium in his backyard. It's a 100-yard turf football. It's a 5-acre piece. And he put a football stadium in the backyard.
So I take it he's a football player?
As one does.
Yeah, it's wild.
Next time you're out in Fort Lauderdale, take a little cruise down the intercoastal where someone's got the corner lot on a 4-year-old house, and he spends 60 and he blades it.
Yeah, Rick Ross. I know that guy. I know Rick Ross. Yeah.
But the whole interest. The one thing I haven't heard from an agent in a long time, because I used to live on Mountain View, but I lived on the north side of Mountain. I haven't heard in 2 years. You don't live in PV.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember that? Remember that old saying? Like,
Oh yeah.
that's not true, PV.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you guys, this is a total joke. Literally, I've heard people use the term PV light. I'm
Oh my
like, are you
God.
Oh
kidding me?
wow.
Are you serious, dude?
Oh,
Like,
Don't
PV
really?
Arcadia
light now.
Yeah,
PV. Yeah.
exactly. Like, give me a break. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
you're right.
that's PV light.
Yeah.
That's-
If there's a way to just shrink you down to size, you know what I mean? You just,
Yeah.
you just whipped out the checkbook and stroked the check for $6 million, and someone goes, "Oh, PV light,"
Yeah.
That
Like
feels
you had
good.
to wait
Yeah.
a week for your Protect. That's your PV light.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By the way, I didn't even get my appointment, guys, so you know where I stand in the world. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, Brian, we always appreciate you jumping on. Like, I mean, it's always a great time to hang out with you. So we really appreciate it. This. I mean, I love it. I could sit here for an hour, but I also want to respect everybody's time. So.
Nah, full on. Here's what I'll say to you guys. I mean, like, this is really, I mean, I'm at that stage now. As crazy as it sounds, I'll be 50 years old in a year and a half. And, at this point in my life, it's about really just being of service to a community, to the public, to my days of needing to win every single fight are over. They just are. I'll win where it matters. I'm going to win with my wife, win with my kids, win with my health. Like, those are the fights I want to win. And where I'm going with this is, you guys ever need me, if it's in person at one of the big meetings or a panel, or for those that Sage used to work with me at North and Trace, you and I used to work together, and Chris, we'll talk about our coffee meeting where I sat down going, how the hell did I just get a coffee with this guy when I was so wet behind the ears and was door knocking pre-foreclosure. So just know this is fun for me. It lights me up, and you guys ever need me in there quickly.
That's really generous. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Jumping on again.
Let's go. I'll be ready.
Brian, how can people find you in the meantime?
Yeah, Brian C North, Brian C North on Instagram. That's it. I post a lot. I'm not going to go too deep here, but I had a midlife crisis. I went through divorce at 40 and realized I was burnt out in my business, and I had achieved everything I wanted. It had no goals left. I know that sounds crazy, but I didn't. I was empty, and I had nothing left. And the last 5 years have been a complete rebirth in my personal life, and I'm sharing it every day so that I can. I don't want to rob people of their suffering, because I think you got to suffer to get to the place that you want to go in your life. But if I could give some information on how to navigate it, that's what I'm going to be doing. So find me there, and then we can talk about real estate secondarily.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yep.
Love it.
Love
it.
Guys, appreciate you guys.
Brian.
Take care.
Bye, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for watching that episode. And this is the start of your real estate journey. There's over 100 episodes and a bunch of playlists. And please hit subscribe before you move on to the next video.